Monday morning. A large auditorium at Grant Motors headquarters is packed with people. An ordinary schoolteacher sits nervously, invited to receive a scholarship grant for her school. When the CEO walks on stage, the audience holds its breath. A confident man in a tailored suit, a knowing smile. Suddenly, a small girl sitting in the front row points and shouts, "Mommy, that's the man who fixed our car in the rain." The audience laughs. Cameras flash. Emily freezes. The man she helped that stormy night, the man she thought was a mechanic, is standing before her as the billionaire CEO of Grant Motors, wearing a rain jacket and an expression of genuine concern. "Do you need help?" he asks simply. Emily nearly cries with relief. "My car, it just died. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know anything about cars." The man smiles. It's a warm smile, the kind that makes you believe everything will be okay. "Lucky for you, I know a little bit about cars." He pulls out a flashlight from his glove compartment. Under the weak light of the rain, he begins examining the engine. His hands move with confidence and precision. He explains what he's looking for in simple terms. He replaces the spark plugs. He checks the battery connection. While he works, he talks to Lily. "What's your bunny's name?" he asks gently. "Mr. Whiskers. He protects me when I'm scared." "That's a good bunny. I bet your mom is brave like Mr. Whiskers." Lily nods seriously. "Mommy's the bravest." 20 minutes later, the engine turns over. It catches. It holds. It runs. Emily's eyes fill with tears. "I don't know how to thank you. I don't have cash. I can't." The man holds up a hand. "No payment necessary. Helping people doesn't need an invoice." He drapes his jacket over Emily's shoulders. The rain is soaked through her thin sweater. "The roads are wet. Drive carefully." Emily asks his name. He hesitates only briefly before answering. "Ethan. Just call me Ethan." As she drives away, she watches him in her rearview mirror, getting soaked in the rain as he stands by his SUV. She doesn't know his last name. She'll never see him again. But that night, when Lily asks if there are still people who help others without expecting anything in return, Emily can say yes with complete certainty. A stranger on a rainy road had just become proof that kindness exists. Weeks pass. Emily moves on, though she tells Lily the story of the kind man more than once. It becomes part of their family mythology, the night a good person helped them just because they needed help. Then one morning, Emily receives an official letter from Grant Motors Foundation. Her school has been selected to receive a substantial grant for STEM education. An invitation arrives for her to attend the awards ceremony at the corporate headquarters. Emily wears her best dress. She brushes Lily's hair carefully and tells her to sit quietly during the ceremony. When she walks into the auditorium, she sees the banner, Grant Motors Foundation, Educational Excellence Awards. She has no idea that the CEO of Grant Motors is the same man who fixed her car in the rain. She has no idea that Ethan Grant has been thinking about her and Lily ever since that night. She has no idea how complicated the next part of her life is about to become. Ethan Grant takes the stage to present the grants. He's polished now, powerful. A man who sits in rooms where billions of dollars are decided. He speaks with authority. He talks about the company's commitment to education, to inspiring the next generation of engineers and innovators. Emily listens politely from the audience, ready to stand when her school is called. Then Ethan's eyes sweep the room and pause. For a moment, time stops. Recognition flashes across his face. He sees Emily. He sees Lily sitting beside her, fidgeting in her small chair. Lily, growing impatient, leans over and taps Emily's arm. "Mommy, that man looks like the nice man from the car." Emily's face goes pale. She watches Ethan finish his speech, watches him look at her multiple times. When Emily's school is called, she stands on shaky legs and walks to the stage. Ethan shakes her hand formally, professionally. His grip is warm. He says quietly, "The old Honda still running?" Emily's voice catches. He's still just Ethan," he says gently, "though now you know my last name too." After the ceremony, Ethan finds her outside the auditorium. "I know this is unexpected," he says, "but I've thought about that night more than once. About you, about your daughter. I'm glad the grant can help your school." "Did you give my school the grant because—" Emily can't finish the sentence. Because I fixed your car? No. I gave the grant because your school does remarkable work. I just so happen to be the one whose company runs the foundation. Coincidence. Or fate, if you believe in that sort of thing. Over the following weeks, Ethan creates opportunities to see Emily without being obvious about it. He invites her school on a factory tour. He arranges for Lily's class to participate in a special STEM program. He finds reasons to visit the school during his business day. Each time he sees them, something in him settles. The man who has everything, wealth, power, respect, finds himself looking forward to conversations with a teacher who has none of those things. Lily, for her part, decides immediately that Ethan is one of the good people. She follows him around the factory, asking questions about every machine. She watches how he interacts with his employees. She observes that he listens when she talks. Really listens, not the way adults usually do with children. One afternoon, Lily asks, "Why did you help us that night when it was raining?" Ethan kneels down to her level. "Because good people help other good people when they can. Your mom is a good person. She teaches kids like you to be smart and kind. That's important work. So I helped." Do you do lots of important work too? I try to, but honestly, the most important thing I did lately was fix a broken car in the rain. Emily hears this conversation from nearby and feels something shift inside her. This man is more than what the newspapers say, more than the Forbes profiles and business achievements. He's someone who remembers a stranger and her daughter. But Emily is careful. She's been hurt before. She knows that men with everything often want things from women with nothing, and not always in obvious ways. When Ethan asks her to dinner, she says no. When he suggests coffee, she declines. When he brings Lily a book about engineering that makes the girl's face light up, Emily's heart both swells and breaks. "You don't have to do this," Emily tells him quietly one afternoon. "The grants, the visits, the attention, it's kind, but you don't owe us anything." "I don't do these things because I owe you anything. I do them because I want to." "Why? What could you possibly want from me?" Ethan considers the question carefully. "Right now? Just your honesty about why you keep turning me down." "Because the world will say I'm using you. Because Lily will get attached, and then you'll move on to something more interesting. Because I'm a teacher making $40,000 a year, and you're worth billions. Because none of this makes sense." "None of it has to make sense," Ethan says quietly. "Sometimes people meet by accident and decide to know each other better. That's all this is." But Emily knows better. She's seen how the world works. A billionaire CEO doesn't befriend an elementary school teacher without consequence. She's right. Within weeks, the gossip starts. Online forums discuss whether Ethan is dating the teacher. Business journalists speculate about his sudden interest in education. Some suggest Emily is a gold digger. Others hint that Ethan is slumming, using her as an escape from his upper world. Emily reads the comments and feels her worst fears confirmed. She tells Ethan they need to stop seeing each other. "I won't let my daughter be the subject of tabloid speculation. I won't let people think I'm taking advantage of your kindness. I just can't." Ethan accepts this with grace, though something in his expression breaks. "If that's what you need, I respect that." But the universe, it seems, has other plans. 3 months pass without contact. Emily tries to move forward. She throws herself into teaching. She spends extra time with Lily. She refuses to check the news about Ethan, though Lily sometimes asks about the nice man. Her friends at school notice the change. They see how she's withdrawn. They see how she checks her phone when no one is looking, hoping for a message that never comes. Emily knows she made the right decision pushing him away. The gossip was intense. Parents at school questioned her judgment. Online articles speculated about her motives. Some suggested she was manipulating a lonely billionaire. Others implied she was a gold digger waiting for her moment. But the cost of protecting Lily and herself was higher than Emily expected. Late at night, after Lily sleeps, Emily allows herself to remember moments with Ethan. The way he listened when she talked about her teaching philosophy. The way he looked at Lily like she was the most important person in the room. The way he made her feel like her ordinary life mattered. She regrets her decision daily, but she convinces herself it was necessary. Then, on a February evening, everything changes. A blizzard strikes Boston with almost no warning. The snow falls thick and heavy. The temperature plummets. The roads become treacherous within minutes. Emily is picking up Lily from an after-school program when the weather alerts start. A snow day has been called. She needs to get home. She drives carefully, gripping the steering wheel. Lily sits quietly, watching the snow pile up on the windshield. They're about 5 miles from home when Emily sees the school bus ahead of them, driving slowly, cautiously navigating the icy road. She follows safely behind it. Then, without warning, the bus skids slightly. The driver corrects it, but the damage is done. The bus has slid into a shallow ditch on the side of the road. Emily pulls over and rushes to help. Through the bus window, she can see the driver looking panicked. She can see children inside, a group of 5th graders and their chaperones. The bus won't move. The wheels spin uselessly in the snow. Emily calls 911. The operator tells her that all emergency services are overwhelmed. Multiple accidents have been reported. Rescue will take time. How much time? Emily asks desperately. I don't know. You need to keep the children warm. Don't abandon the bus. Wait for help. Emily hangs up and looks at the sky. The snow is still falling heavily. The temperature is dropping. The sun will set within the hour. She sits with the children and tries to stay calm, even though panic is clawing at her chest. Lily is on this bus. Lily is cold and scared. Emily distributes what little she has, a blanket from her car, her jacket, tissues to wipe runny noses. She tells stories to distract the children. She sings songs. She pretends everything will be fine while knowing that the situation is becoming dangerous. Hypothermia is setting in. Some children are shaking. Others have gone silent, which Emily knows is worse. She rubs their hands. She hugs them. She does everything she can think of to keep them warm and conscious. The bus driver keeps the engine running, draining the fuel, but understanding that heat is more important than the gas gauge. Emily checks her phone. No signal. The battery is dying. She has no way to contact anyone. No way to get help. No way to tell anyone where they are. She has never felt more helpless in her life. Then, 45 minutes later, through the snow, a pair of headlights appears. A black SUV pulls up behind the bus. Ethan Grant steps out into the blizzard, dressed in a heavy coat and boots, moving with purpose. Behind his SUV are 2 more company vehicles. Ethan has somehow heard about the stranded bus and has brought blankets, thermoses of hot chocolate, emergency supplies, and 2 employees to help. He moves with urgency, but never panic. He approaches the bus calmly, speaks with the driver, assesses the situation, then begins systematically helping children out of the bus and into the warm vehicles. When he sees Lily, he lifts her up and carries her to the warmth, wrapping her in a blanket, setting her down with hot chocolate. Emily watches this man, the billionaire CEO she's been avoiding, become exactly what her daughter needs in this moment. A person who shows up when people are scared and cold and alone. Why are you here? Emily asks when he reaches her. I monitor local emergency channels, he says simply. I heard the report. I knew this road. I brought what I could. He carries children to warm vehicles. He makes sure each one has a blanket. He sits with the ones who are most frightened. He doesn't ask for credit. He doesn't perform for cameras. He just helps. When the professional rescue services finally arrive and take over, Ethan stands back and lets them work. Emily finds him outside, snow falling on his shoulders and hair. Thank you, she says. You saved them. They would have been fine. Rescue would have come. But you came first. How did you know? How did you? I told you, Ethan says quietly. I can't stop thinking about you and Lily. So I set up alerts. When I heard about a bus with school children stranded, I came immediately. I would always come, Emily. That's what love is. Emily's heart breaks and heals simultaneously. I'm sorry, she whispers. I was so afraid. I know. But fear isn't a good reason to let someone who cares about you disappear from your life. Emily steps forward and kisses him, there in the falling snow, with rescue vehicles surrounding them, and her daughter watching from the warm SUV. When they break apart, Ethan says, "I don't care what people think. I don't care about the gossip or the speculation. I only care about you and Lily. If you'll let me." "I'll let you," Emily says. "I'm tired of being afraid." By the next morning, the story has exploded across the media. Billionaire CEO rescues school bus from blizzard. The narrative immediately becomes about heroism and charity, but the pictures tell a different story. They show Ethan holding Lily. They show Emily looking at him with complete trust. They show two people from different worlds choosing each other. Instead of criticism, something unexpected happens. The public embraces the story. They celebrate it. They cheer for a billionaire who shows up in blizzards and an ordinary teacher who deserves kindness. Ethan's stock price rises. His company's reputation improves. But Ethan barely notices because he's too busy learning that the most valuable thing he owns isn't money or power. It's the hand of a woman holding his and a small girl calling him the man who fixes things. 1 year passes, then 2. Ethan starts spending more time at Emily's school than at the corporate office. He works on transforming an old garage into a STEM learning center. He teaches classes on automotive engineering. He listens to Lily talk about her dreams of building things. Emily watches her daughter flourish under this man's attention. More importantly, she watches herself flourish. Ethan isn't a knight in shining armor. He's a man learning to be vulnerable. He has insecurities. He doubts himself, but he shows up. He tries. He chooses them every single day. When the school holds a parent appreciation evening, Ethan attends. He sits in a tiny chair that's far too small for him and listens to Lily read a story about a man who helps people fix broken things. "That's based on you," Lily announces to the entire room. "That's my Ethan. He fixes cars and he fixes hearts." The room laughs gently. Emily's face flushes. Ethan looks at Lily with such profound tenderness that several parents quietly wipe away tears. One evening, after Lily falls asleep, Emily and Ethan sit on the porch of Emily's small house. "Have you ever thought about what comes next?" Ethan asks. Emily knows what he means. They've been dancing around this question for a long time. "Yes," she says, "but I'm scared it will change things. Things are supposed to change. That's how we know we're alive." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a simple ring. A single diamond, elegant and understated. "I'm not going anywhere, Emily. I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep helping you and Lily and everyone else I can. But I want to do it as your husband. Will you marry me?" Emily cries and says yes before he even finishes the question. They marry in the school gymnasium. Lily is the flower girl. Ethan's employees sit alongside Emily's teacher friends. A billionaire and an ordinary teacher make a promise in a room filled with folding chairs and love. After the ceremony, Lily runs up to both of them and says, "Now you're both my family for real, not just for helping." "We were always your family," Ethan says. "Now we just have the paperwork to prove it." The media covers the wedding as a feel-good story. The narrative of a powerful man choosing an ordinary woman, proving that love transcends class and circumstance. But the truth is more nuanced. Ethan doesn't choose Emily despite her ordinariness. He chooses her because of who she is. A woman who sees people clearly, who values integrity over status, who raises her daughter to believe that kindness matters. And Emily chooses Ethan not because he's rich, but because he's shown consistently that he would do the same things for strangers on rainy roads as he does for boardrooms filled with executives. Their marriage becomes a partnership built on actual values rather than romantic fantasy. Ethan uses his resources to expand Emily's school. He creates scholarships for children from low-income families. He funds research into better educational practices. Emily teaches Ethan about the lives of people he never knew, expanding his understanding of what it means to live outside the bubble of wealth. They build something together that neither of them could have imagined alone. Lily grows up watching her mother and Ethan navigate life together. She learns that love isn't about money or status. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other. It's about remembering that the most valuable thing we own is our capacity to be kind. She learns that sometimes the person who fixes your car in the rain becomes the person who fixes your life. Act 5, The Legacy, 700 words. 5 years after that rainy night on Route 7, Emily and Ethan stand together watching their daughter graduate from elementary school. Lily, now 11, gives a speech about the people who have shaped her life. She talks about her mother, who taught her to believe in herself. She talks about Ethan, who showed her that power means nothing without kindness. My mom used to be scared, Lily tells the assembled crowd. She was scared of people. She was scared of trusting. She was scared that good people weren't real. But then she met someone who was real, someone who helped us when we were broken. And now I know that good people are real. I know that kindness fixes things. The auditorium is filled with people who remember the news stories, the blizzard rescue, the CEO who helped a broken-down car, the unlikely marriage. But what they don't know is that the real story isn't about a billionaire and a school teacher. It's about how ordinary people, when they choose each other, become extraordinary together. Ethan has stepped back from his CEO role. He runs the foundation now, focusing on education and community support. He's happier than he's ever been, though he makes a fraction of what he used to earn. Emily still teaches, but now she leads a network of STEM programs across the state. She's published papers on education and poverty. She's become a voice for teachers and children who have been overlooked by the system. Most importantly, they've created a home, not a mansion, though Ethan could easily afford one. They live in a modest house with a driveway where Lily is learning to help Ethan work on cars. On Saturday mornings, this is their ritual. Pop the hood, teach Lily about engines, talk about the week, build something together. It's in these moments that Emily remembers the night she broke down on Route 7. She remembers how desperate she felt, how alone. She remembers a stranger who didn't have to stop, who didn't have to help, who didn't have to change his entire life to be with her. But he did. And Ethan remembers too. He remembers the moment he first saw Emily and how something shifted inside him. He remembers thinking that maybe there was more to life than what he'd been given. He remembers that Lily called him a hero just because he fixed a car. Now, years later, he understands that the real miracle wasn't fixing the car. It was discovering that kindness could change the trajectory of two lives. That a moment of genuine compassion could bloom into something permanent and real. "I love you," Emily says to him one Saturday morning, watching him teach their daughter about carburetors. "I know," Ethan replies. "That's why I stopped my car on that rainy road. You stopped before you met me." "No," Ethan says, taking her hand. "I stopped because some part of me knew you were waiting. Some part of me understood that the life I was living wasn't complete. That kindness was the only thing that could complete it." Emily leans her head on his shoulder, and together they watch Lily work on the engine, her small hands moving with confidence because someone taught her that broken things can be fixed, that good people are real, that sometimes when you need help most, a stranger in the rain is exactly what the universe provides. If you believe that kindness can change lives, that ordinary people can build extraordinary love, and that sometimes a stranger's help is exactly what we need, subscribe to HA Stories and share this message.